Okay, so let's talk rewards and consequences and behavior modification. I think we all need to know that we all work for rewards and consequences. We all have something we'll work for. As adults, as kids, we all have things. So that's really important to remember as one tool as a parent. I remember when my boys were little, we couldn't be late. I couldn't be late to work, so we had to get on the bus. And in order to be there, they had to be in the kitchen ready to go to get breakfast of choice by 7:50 in the morning. And if they were late, my thing was that they wouldn't get breakfast of choice. So there were about 3 or 4 days that they tested me on that. And so they would get on the bus with a dry piece of toast or a piece of bread, and they were upset and angry. But in all the years they were in school and we waited for the bus, they were never late. They learned that to get breakfast of choice, they had to be on time. So I think it's important to pick those battles and work with your kids and know what works for them. And some kids, it's going to be different things. Their reward or consequence is going to be different for your child, and you have to know your child. Mine would work to get their cereal that they wanted, and everything was within reason. We kind of decided what was breakfast of choice. It wasn't a big thing that we couldn't accomplish. It was things that I put my stamp of approval on as breakfast of choice. So there's lots of resources out there to give you some ideas with that. Love and Logic is one resource that will help guide you with some suggestions. And Conscious Discipline is another, Conscious Parenting. Both of those give you some real practical tools to help you as you step forward into the parenting role, as you look at rewards and consequences for your child.
I love the toast illustration, Jane. You know, parents also get rewards and consequences for how they interact with their children. We can set our children up for failure. Let me illustrate. The other day I was working in my office and my little daughter was on the bed beside me watching a show on her tablet. We were there for a couple of hours. All of a sudden I jumped up and said, "Oh, it's time for lunch. Rian, it's time for lunch. Stop what you're doing and let's go eat lunch." And she looked at me with dagger eyes and she got a little frustrated. I said, "Rian, put that away. It's time to eat lunch." And she got mad and threw a fit. I responded, thinking I would give her natural rewards and consequences for her fit. "Rian, if this is the way that tablet's going to make you behave, then I'll just take away the tablet." Now, we had a little blow up. I thought about it a little bit. Colette came home to eat lunch and we were all sitting there and Colette and I talked it over and realized, this is an instance where I got the consequence of my behavior. I know the principle of letting kids know ahead of time what's coming so that they have time to prepare for it. None of us like to just be yanked up immediately, forced to quit what we're working on and yanked up immediately. So why would I expect my child to behave well when I do that to her? Well, we talked about it. I asked forgiveness of Rian for my contribution of not giving her warning of what was coming. And we did also talk with her that throwing a fit doesn't help in the situation either. So she asked forgiveness for throwing the fit. And we talked through and came up with a much better solution for how she'll work with tablet and how I'll help her end with that. And we've kind of moved past that one now. Ephesians 6:4 says, "Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the instruction and admonition of the Lord." My responsibility is to make it as easy as possible for her to obey.
I'm sure the books that Jane talked about cover this. However, you might not read them. So I want to point out that the consequences to our children, especially our small children's actions, should not be in the realm of our emotional response. What do I mean by that? The guiding rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. For instance, our children's action should not have the consequence of our giving them the silent treatment any more than we would want the silent treatment from our spouse or our boss or coworkers. Now, if it's going to take you a while to think of a consequence, then tell them that it will take a while to think of that, but go on with talking with them about daily things as normal. Don't give them the silent treatment. Or it shouldn't have a huge emotional response that engenders fear or cowering any more than we would want that response from our spouse or our coworkers or our boss. Also, we shouldn't give our children a 3-hour dressing down or talking to until they're really sorry, any more than we would want that from our spouse or our boss or our coworkers. It's just, our children need to be secure in our love for them. And those kinds of things, those emotional responses from us, don't help them feel secure in our relationship with them. Now, trust is a little different. And if an action has happened where you are losing trust in your child, that needs to have a conversation. And talking about what trust is and how trust is different than love. But that trust has to be rebuilt. And we're all rooting for you.